What's going on, everybody? It's your man Chuck Creekmur, aka Jigsaw, and we are here for a good one. My man Daddy-O from Stetsasonic, a legend with very few peers, is in the house right now. What's up?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm great, man. Just, moving it along, man. Trying to help my people, man.
Yeah. I hear
Trying
you.
to help my people.
Good. But look, I know where we going with this self-destruction conversation. But before we talk about self-destruction, I was talking to Kenny Parker, and Kenny Parker got stories.
Right.
He was telling me about Stetsasonic, Go Stetsa, and the Latin Quarters. And
right.
And he told me every time that record got played in Latin Quarters, Brooklyn robbed everybody.
That's very true.
Tell us about
not only Latin Quarter, Brooklyn robbed everybody in the Garden too.
Okay.
Yeah, Nostrand Avenue went crazy when we played the Garden. Like it was ugly, bro. It was ugly.
Now, were you in the building when this was happening?
All the time, every time.
Yeah.
Most of the time I was there. I mean, the interesting part is this. The Light and I had a philosophy that if anything happened while we was on stage, that we wasn't doing our job. So I will say the record getting played by Red Alert or one of those DJs, it might have went crazy. But when we performed Go Stetsa, there was no violence.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, a lot of times I was around when it came on. It just, it just became anthemic for Brooklyn. And then we just got that edge. Like we, everybody else was a little different than us. We come from a different type of gutter. You know what I mean? And we come from a different, I think maybe everybody at that time was a have-not, but we come from a different kind of have-not.
Right.
So
go further with it. Then what type of have-not are you talking about?
I mean, I think it's interesting. Like if you talk to people from Brooklyn, you never hear them say I'm from New York. Never. Yeah. They always say they're from Brooklyn. Like Brooklyn is its own entity, like its own country, and there's an edge to Brooklyn. I don't know how it started. Al Capone from Brooklyn.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how the edge started. Riddick Bowe from Brooklyn, Mike Tyson from Brooklyn, Zab Judah from Brooklyn. Like, it's just that Brooklyn always has that kind of edge. And I think the Brooklyn mentality was, if I don't have it, I'm going to take it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Which I'm not saying is a great thing, but I'm just saying that that's the way that it's built. So I guess other cats would cower to it. The whole concept of cowering in Brooklyn it's a no-go. You know what I mean? And then there's a weird type of equality in our head too. So a lot of I hate to say it like this, but it's true. A lot of the robbery came from cats flossing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't particularly, this guy has it and I want to take it, but it's how he acting with what he has. Okay. And because you act like that around a Brooklyn cat, you're gonna go home without it. Shoes, everything. We take everything. Because all that flexing, we don't really deal with that. But without the flexing, you might see us anywhere. You might see us in Milwaukee. You see us in Houston. We chilling. You know what I mean? But when that element gets there, we like, now you in a mode that you think you're a little better than everybody. We got to pipe you down.
Right. Gotcha.
So we the levelers. You know what I mean?
Right. The levelers. Yeah. Okay. I recently did a show and we were talking about Brooklyn, and the conversation came up, who has the best MCs out of the boroughs? Would you say Brooklyn? I know you're biased.
I get in trouble for not saying Brooklyn. Everybody beats me up. I say Jersey, and Jersey ain't even a borough. But I say Jersey all the time, and then they say, I was talking to NREC about it one time. He's like, "Yo, they gonna throw rocks at you, Daddy, when they see you." You know what I mean? But I don't say Brooklyn. I mean, I do believe that our collection of MCs are eclectic. I will say that. Okay. Myself, Marky D, Kane, Biggie, Jalil from Houdini. I think we definitely are eclectic. If you even talk about the most eclectic group of MCs in any borough, I would say it's Brooklyn, because we had this thing about not being the same and not being, there was some non-regular thing in every Brooklyn MC. You know what I'm saying? Because the introduction of the Fat Boys was something totally different than nobody ever heard before. You know what I mean? That sound, just the sonically where they wanted to go with it. And the same thing with Houdini, same thing with Stetsasonic, same thing the first time you heard Big, same thing the first time you heard Jay. You know what I mean? It's like we want to go somewhere that nobody's been. We do not want to tread ground that other people tread. I think in other boroughs, and this is no disrespect, but I think this is true. In other boroughs, cats didn't have a problem copying each other.
Yeah, yeah.
You know
and
what
it's
I mean?
funny. I brought up Old Dirty and Busta Rhymes, and you know,
it's a
Jizza.
very it's a crazy uniqueness to who we are. Could we get in an arena with anybody? I think yes. In terms of like just overall MC penmanship, I always lean toward Jersey because there's some guys there that, I mean, you know, I always say a guy like Redman is a guy that you leave out of your top 5 until somebody mentions him, and then you move somebody. You know what I mean? You never think about it, but Tretch is that guy.
Yeah.
You know, there's no doubt that Rod Digger and Lauren are those girls, no doubt. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, it's that kind of thing. They may not have as many of us, but the ones that they gave us, you know, and I don't know, maybe it was because they was from Jersey and they had to, you know, hold on because they wasn't from one of the boroughs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Maybe it was that. But I always lean toward Jersey because there's just some things that I see from those guys that I didn't see from us. But again, if we're talking eclectic, I don't think that there's anybody as diverse as Brooklyn MCs because you're not gonna. Nobody sounds the same. It's just Sean Price don't sound like nobody.
Yeah,
Buckshot don't sound like nobody. You just like Jay-Z's voice is like nobody else's voice. So you just like, you know, the one thing that we made sure we did, we were notable voices. We were super duper. Almost every MC that made any noise from Brooklyn, you hear Special Ed, it don't matter. You hear Chubb, you know it's us.
Yeah, that's facts.
You know it's us.
That's facts. All right, so let's move forward with the new proposed self-destruction. So before we talk about self-destruction, I want you to explain, because you know we have a lot of young people out here, and maybe they might not be so familiar with self-destruction, what started it, and how it ended up being such an impactful moment in hip hop history.
So there's a few things. Let me talk about first what started. So what started self-destruction was, we're talking the 80s. This is 1989. We're talking the 80s, which is definitely, I don't even want to say the heels of the crack era because the crack era is still strong. So we're talking Get Money time. And around that Get Money time, there was a lot of violence that was happening. And a lot of that violence, I have to be honest, was based on cats getting money. You know what I mean? And so, you know, you got murders happening and all of these particular things. Hip hop was the soundtrack of the streets at that time. Actually, we really were rearing our ugly head at that time. Prior to that, the 80s, and I'm an 80s rapper, you know, we were doing it, but we still fighting, you know, we fighting all types of wars to get on daytime radio, to all of that kind of stuff. By 89, they're starting to understand who we are. We also had a few exceptions in our culture that made what I would call radio friendly records, you know, the Heavy D's, the Q-Tips, you know, that made these records that maybe wasn't as hard as a Ghost Stetson. You know what I mean? But we were being blamed because we were the music that these hustlers was playing in the Jeeps and that was playing in these clubs and that was playing on the street. We were kind of being blamed almost as we was the influence for this violence. And so KRS-One had already put together a Stop the Violence movement, and he came up with the brilliant idea. I would think it's loosely based around We Are the World.
Right. Okay.
Because We Are the World is the time that, you know, you saw all these singers come together to talk about something positive. And he pulled us all in to make this record called Self-Destruction, really based on one incident that happened at the Nassau Coliseum, where a young brother got killed for his chain.
Okay.
And so, and the unique thing about it was the people that he put on the record were not people that you expected to have that message.
Right.
So, you know, maybe you expected Stetsasonic, maybe you expected Boogie Down Productions, maybe you expected Public Enemy. You didn't expect Just Ice with that message. You didn't expect Kumo D with that message. You didn't expect Heavy D with that message. Right. One of the most unique things is, there was a beef between like Red Alert's crew, the Violators, and Boogie Down Productions. In that video, you see Red Alert and Marley Marl together.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was, it was an effort of rappers, a collective of the most popular rappers of the day from the East Coast. Let me be clear about that. Mm-hmm. To basically combat what the press was saying about us. That we were, and a lot of those lyrics on that song relate to that. You know what I'm saying? The first thing Chris says is, it really, and it really ain't the rap audience that's bugging. It's one or two brothers. Like, this is what we doing. The light gets into the whole, black on black crime was way before our time. You know what I mean? Mo D gets into, kind of talking to cats and, I never ran from the Ku Klux Klan, and I shouldn't have to run from a black man. All of those kind of things, just making people think about what's going on in the street. And I think, my personal opinion, that a lot of it was what I call borderline kids. And what I mean by that is that cats that might have had the tendency to go that way, and a record like Self-Destruction kind of says, oh, okay, I'm not gonna go that way.
Got you.
Somebody that's already gone doing crime, whatever, you can't stop criminals. They're gonna do their time until they finish doing jail time and get tired of being in jail. They're gonna keep doing what they do. You know what I'm saying? But the cats that was right there on the edge of it, with crime, even some of that criminal activity to them might even look glamorous.
Yeah.
That song actually was a like a wake up call, and that's basically what that was, putting a bunch of people together and having a wake up call. And I think that the one of the key parts of it was that it was all of these rappers together, guys that you never saw together before. You always saw those rappers. I was talking to somebody from the UK not too long ago, and the guy was telling me, he said, we only had one cable channel. So, we fiddling and kind of like, they almost had Happy Days going on in the early days of hip hop, where they used to have to go to somebody's house to see the videos. They said like Self-Destruction was like incredible for us because we got to see all our favorites in one video. Yeah. You know what I mean? So for the world, it really meant something as well. And I'm sure, besides for cats like us that was up north and we were able to kind of see a whole bunch of stuff going on, even for cats in Milwaukee or Cleveland, that was great because they got to see everybody at one time.
Yeah. And the funny thing that I like about it is, one, to me, it made starting the violence kind of corny. Like it was so dope to see everybody in there, and it made it seem like it wasn't really cool. You had all the coolest rappers, and they were saying that, yo, this is actually not cool.
I mean, think about Just Ice verse. Just Ice was always known as the gangster. Yeah. And everybody that knows his reputation, we seen him knock cats out at the Latin Quarter. Like we seen that with our eyes, right? So to see Just Ice come out and say, yo, chill, that's dope. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of sort of one of the little things that we doing with with the new project. Like, we got a record that Toby and Wigway did, and we got Westside Boogie on there from Eminem's camp. He's a big blood, but you know what I'm saying? But to hear Westside talk that, other bloods will look at it and see what's up, and they respect the kid. It's not like this kid ain't no punk, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's that kind of thing. So yeah, same effort.
So let's get right into it. So the movement for Self-Destruction now is what? Is it a song? Is it a number of songs?
It's a bunch of things. So it's a movement. We calling it Stop Self-Destruction. The reason we call it Stop Self-Destruction is because Daddy-O in his little mind believes certain things, right? So one of the things that I believe is that words have power. So I often go, self-destruction, you're headed, listen what I'm saying, you're headed for self-destruction, Tupac dies. Self-destruction, you're headed for self-destruction, Biggie dies. Self-destruction, you're headed for self-destruction, Juice WRLD takes a bunch of pills, right? So I'm not saying that we caused that, but I am saying, like, we don't want those kind of words this time. Right?
So you're kind of saying that maybe perhaps, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but when you literally say you're headed for self-destruction,
that's exactly what happened.
Right.
That's exactly what happened. So we calling it Stop Self-Destruction, right? We was gonna call it Self-Destruction 2. We held on to that as long as we could until my team got smart enough to tell me what to do. And so we call it Self-Destruction 2. It's a movement. I'll talk a little bit about the movement before I talk about the music and film. So as a movement, what we would like to do is, I always say, be a helping hand to the community. The first people I think about is these mayors. I think about this guy Warnock that everybody's raising a flag to, or Mayor Adams that everybody's raising a flag to. And my question to them always is, what are Monday's numbers in Philadelphia? When I say numbers, I mean murder numbers, or fentanyl numbers, or whatever you want to call it, right? But what because the bottom line is that we know that people have to be really, really involved in order to impact our situation. You know what I mean? We could talk about gun violence all day, but it's the Black community that's where the numbers are high in terms of gun violence. We don't have a gun problem. We got a violence problem, right? And so we want to be assistance to everybody that wants to help. We want to touch the people that's doing the real work. Maybe that might be somebody holding a soup kitchen open. Maybe that might be somebody that runs a girls' home, right? Or maybe that might be a mayor, like Mayor Adams or Warnock. But we want to be the voice for that, and we want to be the soundtrack for that. As far as the music is concerned, we can no longer do one song. It's too many MCs on the planet. So we have to do a series of songs with this particular thing. We're throwing around a whole bunch of ideas in terms of how to do that. One is by subject. Some of it is by territory. Like we're talking to the cats in Dallas about doing a Dallas record. We've already talked to Zaytoven about doing an Atlanta record, because maybe that will work. We're not saying definitely, but maybe that will work, right? And then the other thing is to be able to have some sort of film documentarian property along with it, because that's what people do now. They go home and they binge watch a show on Apple TV, or they binge watch a show on Netflix. And so if we can bring some of those ills to people's to the forefront of their mind, because the way I look at it is this: hip hop is in its 50th anniversary. I feel very strongly about myself and my peers being a big part of what I call unbecoming absentee fathers. Hear what I'm saying? If Young Thug is not my son, then whose son is he? Kenny Rogers' son? Bob Marley's son? John Bon Jovi's son? So there's no way I can distinguish. I can't say Heavy D's hip hop and Kodak Black is not. It's not fair. I can't say Latifah's hip hop, but Glorilla is not. That's not fair. It's not fair to Glow. It really is not. And I don't believe that any of these kids, even if you want to say they're making destructive music, whatever you want to say about them, I don't believe that any of them is doing what they don't know how to do. So with parents in your life, you learn how to do things. Without parents in your life, you latchkey kids.
Right.
And anybody that lived in Queens will tell you what a latchkey kid could do. Anybody around the crack era could tell you what happened to a latchkey kid. Because a lot of latchkey kids, them houses became crack houses.
Right.
Because the parents was off. Two parents working, crack hits the street. One of the daughters started smoking. She turned the brother on to it. Next thing you know, that house is a crack house. Right. And that's because the parents are absent. So part of this movement is to be able to formulate some of those connections. Like I said, the first record that we finishing is Toby and Wigway, Daddy-O, Chuck D, Big Crit, West Side Boogie, and Toby is determining who the girls are going to be on the song. You know what I mean? But we want to do a lot of that. I do want to do a lot of mashup. I don't want to use a lot of classic MCs, only because I don't believe that the young people that we're trying to affect with fentanyl or gun violence, suicide, teen pregnancy, police brutality, I don't think that those people relate to Daddy-O the same way. Right. But I think that their heroes do. Meaning me in the room with Kodak Black, I know what he writing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then the other thing is, a lot of people think or the way you guys did self-destruction, they throw that word positive around in bad ways, Chuck. Really bad ways, right? I don't care about it that way, but I do care about these young people bleeding their pain. And if you listen, they all doing it. Kodak said on Super Gremlin, he said, I knew the perk was fake, but I still ate it because I'm a gremlin. That's pain.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say? They bleeding the pain, but they doing it in a context that only young people understand. I want to teach them how to write these songs. For instance, I take a guy like T Grizzly from Cleveland. I give him a scenario. I say, look, you on the block gets wet. Your man gets hit 7 times. You're in the ambulance. Now you had emergency. They wheel your man in. You can't go inside. You in the waiting room. You don't know if he's going to live or die. Give me 8 bars.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You take a girl like Glorilla. You say, hey, you got involved with a guy. I don't know if the bag popped. I don't know if you just decided to not use protection, whatever. 2 months later, you find out you're pregnant. You don't know if he's going to stay. You don't know if he's going to go. You decide to go to the abortion clinic, but now you sitting in the waiting room like this. 8 bars.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say? Because I want people to understand that these young people are going through something. They calling them demons. They're not demons.
Yeah.
They may be doing some demonic things, but I think they're doing demonic things for the lack of guidance. So that's what we want to do with this. We want to do, and then, like I said, we want to have the film properties to accompany it because there's so much that we can do. Off the top of my head, stuff like you take a guy like Moneybagg Yo, you make a record called Where Did the Money Go? And you lock him into a financial literacy program.
Right.
You see what I'm trying to say? So now Moneybagg Yo is teaching you about money with a dope record. Because here's the key, Chuck. I made Africa. I made Freedom of Death. I was part of self-destruction. I'm not going to make corny message records. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So the whole issue is to not be corny, but still give something somebody could listen to. Yeah, and there's other records we can think about. We could think of Slow Down by Brand Nubian. We don't really look at that as a message record, but it is.
Yeah.
We could think of The Moment I Fear by Slick Rick. We don't really look at that as a message record, but it is. So that's the way I want to go, challenging some of the younger artists, because that's really all who I want to work with, to write in a very deep way, because I'm still a big fan of hip hop. And there is something that we do, and this is no disrespect to singers, guitar players, I love them all. But there is something that we do with words that nobody does with words.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody does Dear Mama. Nobody.
Yeah, nobody. That's
nobody does Fight the Power. Nobody.
That's a fact. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I want that legacy to continue on. Maybe, hopefully it won't be in the future, but maybe the difference between me and some of my peers now is I see that in Roddy Ricch. I see that in Rod Wave. They may see it in Corday. They all see it in Corday. You understand what I'm trying to say? But I see it in T Grizzly. I see it in Kodak. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I see it in that 2 Times kid that just came out of Memphis. You know what I mean? Like, I see it in them. You know what I mean? It's just an issue of them, because you gotta understand, when we got dope, it's because we was around dope people.
Right.
So it's no way that we couldn't be dope, because you Stetsasonic, you coming from Brooklyn, you got to go up to the Fever and see the Cold Crush perform. And Kaz is murdering it.
Yeah.
Kaz, you know what I'm saying? JDL's murdering it. And you go back to Brooklyn like, yo, Delight, what we gonna do, man? Right. You know what I'm saying? We got to create something. We got to do some kind of dope routine. We got to, you understand what I'm trying to say? Because of technology, a lot of our artists, especially hip hop, because I'm not gonna take it out of that realm. A lot of hip hop artists now, because of technology, live in little vacuums.
Yeah.
Because they can make everything in their bedroom and all of that kind of stuff. So they don't necessarily have to rub against anybody when they're making their art. And I have nothing against the art, but we're always better as a collective than we ever been individually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so some of that is just kind of collecting all the parts together as well. And, and then we got lucky. It's just really fortunate that it all happened around Hip Hop 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it going to come out this year?
Oh yeah, well, we definitely gotta at least have 2-3 records this year.
Okay.
I don't know if it's gonna be the full project. My idea was for 12 songs. It might go longer.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
might end up being continuous. You know what I mean? Like if I have my way, it's totally continuous because I could slide these records in and out anyway, and it's damn near and sure enough artists. You know what I mean? For you know what I mean? From that high level, like the Post Malone thing, all the way to like the real greasy level. You know what I mean? Like Spinner Benz. You know what I mean? Like but it's there. You know what I mean? It's definitely enough artists. So it's just an issue of kind of putting it together. When I first started the project, the first thing I did was I reached out to producers for some tracks. Cause I was just thinking one day, I was actually in the studio mixing one of my albums. I said, oh man, I want to get some joints. So I called out, just got on my little Instagram and called out Premier, Pete Rock, Large Professor, Easy Mo B, and within an hour or two, they all hit me back. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting on a whole bunch of heat from them, Rottweiler, KG from Naughty by Nature. I'm sitting on a bunch of heat from them. But I still want to work with all the new cats too. ATL Jacob, Mustard, all of those guys. I still want to work with all of them too. So I said the next thing I want to do is do some press and then just kind of give a call of arms. Like I'm calling y'all out. Like I need y'all. I need y'all. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know who I want first, but I really don't care who come first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It could be anybody. You never know where it's gonna come from. It could be NBA Youngboy first. It could be Glorilla first. To me, it don't matter. As long as we can get together, make the records. They all gotta be compilation records because that's gonna make it to be dope. The cool thing about artists today is they use the features.
Yeah, definitely.
So making a compilation record is nothing to them right now. I mean, back in the day, that wasn't a big thing, bro.
Right.
Doing records together. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But now they used to it, so that's great.
Jim Jones is, by the way, said he'd be down. So
I love Jimmy. I love Jimmy. I've been it's so funny. So I'm in Cleveland, and this weekend I went to Detroit to the Motown Museum.
Okay.
And so me and the homie was driving, and I told her, you play a record, I play a record. But one of the records I always play is that never had 3/4 by Jim Jones. I always play that record because I play that record so people could really understand the New York sound without it being like a record from the 80s.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like a new record that got that sound. But no, I love the new joint, the new project that he just did with Hitmaker. Like I like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I love Jimmy. I like his inflection, man. He got a nice inflection, bro. Like he got a real nice inflection. Like it don't come off phony.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot better. Like it's
crazy
to see how people like him, Mano is his boy. They both have gotten like really, really dope.
Yeah.
And
Jimmy's welcome, man.
Solid.
Jimmy is welcome. I love to have Jimmy, especially because the other thing is that I want a lot of these young kids, right? And these young kids love Jimmy.
Yeah, they do.
So I could easily see me putting together Jimmy and Roddy Ricch on a record. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's like a no-brainer. You know what I mean? They're gonna want to do the record with Jim Jones. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a fact. So fast forwarding a little bit, Hip Hop 50. I was talking to somebody here in the studio. I'm at One World Studios, and we were talking about Hip Hop 50, and we were talking about the anniversary of hip hop being 50, and just how we wish things were a little bit different, how we were in more of a power position. And you mentioned something earlier that kind of resonated with the absentee father, and like, but not on the artistic side, more on the business side.
I'm the same way.
Yeah,
I think I feel the same way. I always say, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but Daddy-O talks. So I always say stuff like why Melly Mel didn't own Sugar Hill Records. Like I always say stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't get how some of my forefathers, because that's all I could call them, or some of the guys that preceded me, didn't go into it, and then I look at us the same way. I look at my generation the same way, because I think we put out some dynamic material, but there was never a Bomb Squad. There was never a Bomb Squad's records.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm trying to say? There was Herbie Lovebug did some incredible things, but we never really had Herbie Lovebug records.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like we didn't participate in ownership. We didn't go for ownership. Participate is probably a bad word. It's clear we didn't go for ownership. Now, granted, some of that is totally understood because you're making art. And if anybody knows about being a sax player, a drummer, a guitar player, when you in the middle of making art, you just in the middle of making art. And that's what you want to make. You want to make that art. You want to hear that art when it's done, all of that. So that's understood. But the flip side of that is coming into 50 years is exactly as you say, like, so what are we looking at? Because if we used to look at ourselves, all we have been is the artist.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much all we have been. Yeah, we had a few stints with Jay and Dame up at Def Jam, and a couple of cats got some executive positions here and there. But even those positions that they got them within the building, what I call the building. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so, I think it is disappointing. I don't think it's too late though.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's the one thing I don't think is too late. And I think we caught a blessing with the internet. I think we really did. If we take advantage of it, we really caught a blessing with the internet, because there's some things that's too far out the gate to even catch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you see some of these young guys, and the way some of these young guys could actually make some of their artwork, some of these guys doing the NFT work and all that, you know what I mean? Because it's the cat's already out the bag. So no, it's not too late. But yeah, it would have been nice, you know what I'm saying? I mean, who knows what it would have been now since digital, because I'm talking ownership when we pressing up records and cassettes. So who knows what it would have been by the time it got. We don't really know, but just saying. But I don't think it's too late.
Okay. Now, who had the best verse on Self-Destruction? You can't say yourself.
For me, I think for me it was Heavy.
Heavy, okay.
Yeah, he said he was ill with that. Like it wasn't typical.
Right.
It
I
really
like when he said Heaven's at the door, so there'll be no bum rushing.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? For me it was Hev.
Okay.
For me it was Hev. I mean, for other people, they might like some other stuff. I know a lot of people that like Mo D's verse the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Especially that end, black, that I never ever ran from a Ku Klux Klan, and I shouldn't have to run from a black man. You know what I mean? Like
that was like a punch in the jaw. That was like,
yeah,
we gonna get this work. Yeah.
But I would say Heavy D. For me, it's Heavy D.
Okay. When we're talking about the changes in hip hop, you mentioned the year '89, and I'm not trying to provoke this as a disrespectful comment,
right?
Because, and I'll say this because they did have a West Coast version of Self-Destruction,
right, with the same gang record,
West Coast All Stars. But at the same time, we started to see a difference in shift from started primarily from NWA, but there were others before that, even here on the East Coast. What were your thoughts on the movement that was kind of arising out of hip hop? And Boogie Down Productions had guns and clips and whole type military
with the first album, So there's I don't know, maybe there's two sides, but I'm looking at it as two sides. So one side is just kind of explaining it the way you just explained it. The other side is the one thing that I say all the time that people don't put into consideration is mere population. right? Meaning if a rap record came out, and let's just use 89 and 90 as an example. No, let's use 88 and 89. If a rap record came out in 88, and let's say 100 people, that rap record had a fan of 100 people. If a rap record came out in 89, it seems like psychologically people are thinking it's the same 100 people, but now it's 300 people. And the more people that get involved, they come from different places, they bring different elements. So as much as people like to talk about, say, for instance, NWA and what they came in with, the fact that they had nigga in their name, the fact that nobody ever had curse words in a hook before, and they have F the police and all of these things, you also got to realize that they're coming from a place that we did not come from. So they were representing a different sector of the society. And so I think that contributed more to the change in the sound of hip hop than people think.
Okay.
There's a lot of talk about, the higher ups had a meeting, that all that Illuminati talk. The higher ups had a meeting and they said, this music is helping too many people, so we need to do some negative things. I don't necessarily know that that's true. Right. You know what I mean? What I do know is that if let's just call it positive versus negative, just for the sake of argument. If positive artists had the wherewithal and the chutzpah, as the Jews would say, to fight back, then the ground is level anyway, right? But if you succumb to it, then the ground is not level. And succumbing to it is two things: either you're not making records anymore because you say, oh man, the whole thing changed, man, it just ain't what I used to do, or you're not making records as good as NWA.
Right.
You understand? And so I think that anytime you in music, especially in hip hop, because hip hop is different. You could say in music, but Chuck D always warns me sometimes. He says, Daddy, you gotta move that sometimes you say music and you should be saying hip hop, right? And hip hop competition has been the cornerstone of hip hop since the very beginning.
Yep.
And so that is a competitive win for NWA.
Wow.
You understand? I mean, that's they beat you. That's all. They just beat you.
Wow.
And it's true, because this is what it is.
They didn't beat nobody. They because I have to push back.
Okay, go ahead.
Public Enemy Public Enemy is definitely not the opposite of NWA, but for argument's sake, they were still popping during that period of time and after. So
yeah,
I hear what you're saying, though. I hear what you're saying.
What I'm saying is that even if we use that same example, bro, that you're talking about, Public Enemy goes back and makes Cube's record.
Yeah,
Cube won. He won. It wasn't like it happened the other way around. Do you understand what
Cube
I'm
wanted to dope. Cube left LA and had to align himself with the most.
I get it. But what I'm saying is that it's no different than a Tupac win. Tupac won because of the dopeness. I don't. The one thing I won't do with hip hop is take away from whatever is dope.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of questioning nowadays between what that is, but then the dope stuff still rises to the top. You guys say whatever you want. Kendrick's still stomping on y'all because he's dope. Say what you want. Cole's still stomping on y'all because he's dope. So the bottom line is that's hip hop. Like, that's hip hop. And so I think there just needs to be a little bit more attention paid to what it is to be a creative lyricist, what it is to take something in a different direction. How much guts do you have that if everybody is shooting in their records, how much guts do you have to make a dope record that says don't shoot?
Yeah.
Or are you just a punk that's just gonna sit back and either not make something, or now you shooting too?
Yeah, right.
And that's the way I looked at New Yorkers when New Yorkers started making tough guy records. Because I looked at New Yorkers and says, man, hip hop as a culture and a music has a nonviolent origin, right? It started off from gangs making a truce and no longer fighting, and now they're breakdancing against each other, and now they're DJing against each other, and now they're painting on walls against each other, right? Yeah. How do you come out of that to go back to talking tough? Yeah. You didn't have to talk tough. You understand? Yeah. I didn't expect Dear Mama to come from a Tupac. I expected Dear Mama to come from a New Yorker. Even though Tupac had his New York roots kind of, but my point of the matter is that they fell victim. New York at a certain point really fell victim to the hardcore tough guy thing. It didn't mean that they weren't going through it. I am not taking away from guys in Queensbridge that it was a tough time for them, or guys in some projects in Brooklyn that it was a tough time for them. I'm not taking away from that, but I did expect a little bit more creativity. It's the same thing Public Enemy did. When Public Enemy made those records, they wasn't only militant records, they was dope militant records.
Yeah.
Because Paris makes militant records, but Paris is nowhere near as dope as Public Enemy.
Paris is dope though. Paris
doesn't. He's nowhere near.
Right,
you know what I'm trying to say? Because his thing could be kind of it's the same. It's like listening to gospel records. Some people make just gospel records, and then some people make dope gospel records. You know what I'm saying?
No shade or Paris will be permitted here.
No. That's my man. Like, me and him real cool. So he but Daddy'll talk. They all know Daddy'll talk. So I ain't worried about that. I'm just saying, like, the whole issue is competition and how you respond to competition.
Yeah.
And I think that what ended up happening is cats with street content that were dope beat other people that now street content became the thing because they won.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. So since you talk, we have a lot of lists. If you had a list, who's number one on the top of your MC list?
It's tough because the people I like, I just like them because I like them.
Yeah,
my number one's not gonna be anybody's number one.
Well, who's your number one?
My number one is Pimp C. Nobody's number one's Pimp C.
Right.
Nobody does it for me like Chad. Nobody.
Okay, talk about it.
I'm talking about everything. Like he's it to me. You know what I'm saying? Like
the room is saying, wow. Okay.
You understand what I'm trying to say? Like that's it for me. Like, and if you don't believe me, take your time. Don't skip through it. Just listen to Riding Dirty from the beginning to the end, and you'll see where I'm going with this. And it's not that Bun. You probably would make the argument that Bun is a better rapper, the same way there's been quotes that 3000 said that Big Boy's the better rapper.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say? The same way New Yorkers used to argue that Phife is the better rapper. The only one that never got better rapper was Vinny.
Who?
Vinny.
Oh, Vinny.
Nobody ever said Vinny was better than Church.
Vinny dope though. Vinny dope. He
you know what I'm saying? He is dope though.
He came through.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that what Chad does for me is different. Now, my number one MC of all time is Melly Mel. I fight Mel all the time, but I'll fight somebody that don't say Mel is number one, and that's really strictly on that rhyme on Beat Street alone. Because I don't feel like there's ever been a better recorded verse than that rhyme that he did on Beat Street. Yeah. And there's a lot of good verses out there.
That was a prophecy. That was more than
that's stupid. That was real dumb. That whole "don't be a slave to no computer," and now everybody's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So Mel would always be number one. Plus, Mel is the guy that I saw that let me know I could be the chief MC Daddy-O. Right. I saw Mel on stage commanding, let me see you put one hand in the air and wave them from side, and the whole crowd is doing. I'm like, yo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of rappers was just rapping. This guy took total control over everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but when it comes down to records, it's definitely Pimp C for me.
That's dope. That's very special. Now Stetsasonic has been through some changes. You've been putting out some records, and where do you feel where do you guys feel your legacy is, and do you feel like you've been respected enough? We know that you're the first hip hop band, but usually the roots get mentioned um, as such. But
Right,
what do you? And when I say band, folks, I mean
right,
drummer. You know what I mean? Like actually a band.
right. Um, so going back to the beginning of your question, we don't think that it's late enough to determine that, which is why we're still doing what we do, right? We think that there's more to do and more for people to see. We got a few prominent things that we're doing this year that will kind of explain our legacy and some of the things that we have been. Um, as far as the roots are concerned, that's very cool with us because Amir Questlove always gives us the props,
Yeah.
always. You know what I'm saying? So that's not even an issue, like as to whether or not he feels like, oh, we was, but he talks about getting stuff from us, so that's cool.
Yeah.
And then the Stetsasonic issue is one issue, bro. It's one issue, and you'll hear everybody Stetsasonic, past, present, and future, meaning cats that might not even be with us anymore, will make the same argument, and that is a Sally video.
Right.
If Stetsasonic had a Sally video, you're looking at a totally different level of success.
Yeah.
But we were with a record company that didn't believe that video sold records.
Right.
So the first Stetsasonic video is actually Africa. Because the Africa Fund paid for it. It's Africa because the Africa Fund paid for it. Tommy Boy didn't pay for it.
Right.
First time Tommy Boy paid for a video was Talking All That Jazz.
Wow. And
that
was
was after Sally had dropped and blew. If we do a show today, when you see us do a show, we close our show to Sally every territory. Germany, America, Belgium. We close to Sally. Because that technically, even though other records sold more, that's our biggest record.
Yeah, right.
But we didn't have a video for Sally. So that's really the determining factor for, oh man, you know what I'm saying? Because I seen my man just posted something. I seen Minister Server post something, I think yesterday or the day before. And he was saying, oh, I miss groups. And there was a whole bunch of groups and we wasn't there. And I was like, no stat. And he was like, oh, well, I didn't put together the meme. And, in my head, I'm saying, all you have to do is get on your phone and add another picture. But whatever, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, a lot of times we don't get mentioned, but I almost feel like that's why. Because we ended up being a real acquired taste.
Yeah.
It's not like we didn't make dope records or nothing like that, but it's like the people that's into Stet are really into hip hop.
Yeah.
That's a solid. That's one thing is solid. If you into Stetsasonic, you really into hip hop. Just like the people who are into Ultramagnetic, really into hip hop.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Like this, you really know what it is. And then everybody else is grabbing from, whatever was popular, whatever was on Video Music Box, and then further on to be, Yo MTV and all of those particular things. But we do feel slighted a bit, but we kind of blame it on that one factor of no Sally video. You know what I'm saying? And the other sides of it is this, and this is something I say all the time, besides for the Sally video. Sometimes, and I say this to young people I'm working with all the time now, a friend asked me this about Jasmine Sullivan. And she said, why do you think Jasmine didn't blow? And it's the same thing I said about Stet. Sometimes you just don't have the records.
Right.
Did we make the show by that Dougie Fresh and them made?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Did we make friggin' Bring the Noise?
Right.
Like, and it's got nothing to do. Did we make records that could stand aside Bring the Noise? Yes, but I know because I produced Top Billin'. You understand what I'm trying to say?
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, I produced Top Billin' for the Audio 2 to really never have another hit. You understand what I'm trying to say? The Audio 2 is known for top billing. That's it. They had other records, but they are not known for anything else they ever made.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Why? Because top billing was that song.
That's a
and
fact.
Sometimes you gotta succumb to the fact that you just didn't have the song. You know who understood that really well? I love him for this. Prince. That's why he made what he made.
Right.
Because some of those songs were the songs.
Right.
They probably, none of them was his favorite. All of them big records, Little Red Corvette, all of them, he probably didn't even like them damn records.
He didn't, and he stopped playing them after a while.
Yeah, you understand what I'm trying to say? But sometimes certain records resonate, certain records don't. Even going back to the Stop Self-Destruction, which is why, you know, I'm enlisting, you know, great producers and all of those people. My call to arms is for all these guys to come, because I'm not the ear to hear it all. Because I'm an eclectic cat. I'm a guy who puts Pimp C at the top. Like, who am I? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everything that ends up sounding like UGK, you mess with me. You know what I'm saying? And that's just not good for everything. So you need ears like whoever is picking them Rick Ross beats.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's him, but
it's him. He's a hell of
never
a
anything whack, yo.
Yeah.
Like, who is this man? Every time I'm like, yo, who is this man?
I talked to him about that, and I was like, you gotta, I forget whose album it was at the time, but I was like, yo, you got an A&R such and such album. Oh, it was Nas, actually, respectfully, before Hit Boy.
Hey, even the Hit Boy records, Ross would still do a better record, A&R and Nas records, than Hit Boy. No disrespect to Hit Boy, but Ross's ear on a Nas record, bro, that's a hang up your mic moment. Do I still want to do this?
Yeah, definitely.
That really is, because this boy really, you know what I'm saying? But you got to enlist those kind of people. Sometimes it's the song, and some of us as artists have to ingest that. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. I love Flash and them. I could sing all those records through and through. But is Birthday Party rap the message? No. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, and maybe it meant a lot to them or whatever. And then sometimes records have lives of their own. Like, bro, I remember when Sugar Hill Gang dropped Apache. Nobody liked it.
Right.
Now it's one of the biggest records. It's in commercials. It's a dance that people do at parties and all of that. So sometimes it takes time for those things to breathe. But we got to let records be what records are. And I just think that that's fair. And I don't think it's fair to the fans, you know, when people come out and say, oh, you know, they just didn't like me, you know, or somebody did something wrong. No, some hit you. Yo, we knew this. Why do you think things are called hits? Things are called hits because there can be a miss.
Right.
It's not called hits because it's called hits because there can be a miss. Sometimes you miss. I mean, look at little Miley Cyrus. She started off one way, then in the middle of that career was like, now she comes with Flowers and all the rest of that, and now she back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, somebody told me this when I first started in this business. They say you're always one hit away from success or failure. Always.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah.
So how optimistic are you for the future of hip hop? For, you know, we've seen a lot of rappers dying, a lot of you know, I mean, I know you have this record and this movement. Do you feel optimistic? Do you feel like kids?
I do. I think if we step back in, I think there's a lot absentee fathers have to do, right? So let's just make it practical. You know, you have, and I'm gonna make it a girl, even though, you know, some of these guys, a lot of them are guys, but I'm gonna make it a girl. You know, you got a daughter, you haven't been in her life for a long period of time. Now this girl has grown up, went to high school, tried to go to college, something happened, she had to drop out. She's doing okay. All right, she's doing okay, but she's definitely not what she wanted to be. But you know, she done learn how to push forward, right? Without a daddy. And now you come to the conclusion that and see the error of your ways. it's gonna take a minute for her to accept you. She's not just gonna go, oh man, I've been waiting for this all my life. Well, come on, Daddy, let's go have some ice cream.
Yeah.
It's you know what it is? I'm a TV guy. It's Stallone and Tulsa King. You ever seen Tulsa King and you seen the way it was with it? The daughter the daughter didn't want to mess with him in the beginning at all.
Yeah.
You gotta keep inching your way back. So that's my optimism. My optimism is that we, meaning myself, Chuck D, Dougie Fresh, MC Light, Latifah, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, could be actively involved in present hip hop.
Yeah, definitely.
That Kane is talking to Lil Uzi Vert. You know what I'm saying? That Chuck D is talking to Lil Yachty. You know what I'm saying? Or I give you a better one. Flavor is talking to Lil Yachty. That's you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
But you understand what I'm trying to say? Like if that's my optimism, and that, you know, that's just something I want to jumpstart with this project. It's not gonna happen just because I did this project. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that's one of the things that I want to jumpstart, because I feel like if we were a collective group, then the optimism is there. What's happening though is when you got these kids running off by themselves, like when you listen to them little Glorilla's crew do that record like Shabuya. Mm-hmm. I don't think those little girls know they not supposed to be doing, or know whether or not let me put it, I'm not gonna say not supposed to, you know, you get in trouble for that. Know whether or not they supposed to be doing Shabuya. I think that's what they think they're supposed to do.
Right.
But you ask maybe all of them, but definitely a portion of them, do you know who MC Light is? Do you know who Antoinette is? They're probably gonna say no.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Right. So the whole thing about it is that, okay, yeah, they know who Trina is. They might, you understand what I'm saying? They know, they possibly know who Kim is. They might know Kim and not know who Foxy is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if we're not a collective down the line, then yeah, the hope does dissipate. What makes Jason Aldean dope in country is that he's talking to everybody in country. Right. You understand what I'm trying to say? He all of those guys know Jason. It's not like, and it's really more Jason knowing them and giving homage every time he's around and all of that. That makes it kind of work. Same thing with Luke Combs. Same thing with you know, Zach Brown Band and all of them. Those are all technically newer country artists than say Dolly or even Miranda and Blake. Yeah. But they know Miranda and Blake, and so country still has a cohesiveness about it that now the new country is beginning to be accepted. Is it more poppy than what we used to hear? Is twangy? No. Some of it sounds more rappy. Yes. You understand? I give Jason Aldean the credit for putting Ludacris on Dirt Road Anthem, because that's where it really started, that whole kind of, you know, because he did it. He was rapping on Dirt Road Anthem. And I don't know how it happened, but he ended up putting Luda on it, and that was just crazy. You know what I mean? But it's the collectiveness of it. And so that's my optimism. My optimism is that us as absentee parents, let me not just say fathers, because it's girls involved too. Us as absentee parents ease our way back into these kids' lives. And then, you know, because they dope. You know what I'm saying? Some of them are doper than you even think. Like 2 Chainz is way doper than people think. Some of these people are way doper than people think. And a lot of my peers don't know, because they don't listen to their music.
Yeah, that's a fact.
They only heard the record on the radio. That's all they heard. Yeah. And that guy, that record, I hate that record. You know what I'm saying? And maybe you do hate that record, but if you listen to that album, there might be 2 or 3 joints on there that really throw you, and you be like, whoa, that was crazy. That's how I got into Key Glock. Yeah. I've been in the Glock and Dog for a long time. Right. You know what I'm saying? And way before Dumb and Dumber. So, you know, you gotta listen, you know, and that's the whole thing. You know what I mean? Because these young kids right now, first of all, they're making way, when I say way, I could keep saying way, like I could hold my breath and say way, more money than we did in music. Money. Yeah, they out of here with money. Like we were still. I got a line on my on one of my records on Info Give, my second album, where I say, some people call me Kareem. At work, they call me Glenn. I was on tour last year. This year, I'll do it again. Like my first tours, I took leave of absences from work to go on tour. and then came back to work.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say? Like there was no clarity that, oh, I'm gonna be able to do this full time and pay my bills with this. You understand what I'm trying to say? They kind of walking in paying their bills with it.
Yeah, no.
So you know what I'm saying? So that puts them in a whole totally different position, because what you offer them is not money.
Yeah.
So it's not like you come in and them saying, hey, let me show you how to really get your chips up. You telling me to get my chips up? Like you see my wrist and you see your wrist? Man, get out of here with that. You know what I'm saying? But if you offering them something that's invaluable, you know, that's real hard to pass up. Life lessons are real hard to pass up. And you know, sad to say but true, their present situation gives leave to that. Like I say it all the time. We never thought that we would see the words hip hop and suicide next to each other.
Right.
Hip hop was always about life, always about living. I'm a, you know, boom, and then we, you know, when I die, bury me. I want 2 turntables by my feet. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Like we was, you know, but it was always about life. And to think of the Juice WRLDs and the Mac Millers and some of the things that has happened, it's just atrocious to a guy like me that's been around that long. And so, you know, some of that got to be breathed into them. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be so dire. Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to look at it like that. You know what I'm saying? I hear a lot of these kids rapping. I never expected to make it past 24. And I was listening to that kid Clever that did, you know, some dope records with Chris Brown. He from Alabama. Chris Brown and Wayne is on his album and stuff. I heard, and Juice WRLD, you know, I heard him saying it. You know, something about this kid didn't make it to 23 and da da da. It's like sometimes they even have in their mind like I might not make it. You know what I mean? I want to but they also don't know about the Hevalo and the battle between Fantastic Five and the Cold Crush 4. They don't know about none of that. I've had young people in my office and play just the fantastic part of Wild Style, and they lost their mind.
Right.
You know? You know what I mean? But because they never knew it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you gotta understand, it's like, it's the way R&B, if you're an R&B singer and somebody shows you old footage of Shaka or old footage of Aretha and you're a singer,
right,
you get chills because you're like, damn, like I am doing this and I am, and you know, I might be recording from my bedroom or whatever, but wow, look at that. This is what I come from. This is blah, blah, blah. Most of these rappers have not been shown where they come from.
Yeah.
I say it on one of my albums. I said, when is the last time somebody walked up to Migos and said, you remind me of the Treacherous Three? That it never happens.
Yeah.
So, you know, their roots don't go back further enough. They go back kind of far. But if you're a young Atlanta cat, T.I. might be old school to you.
Yeah.
You definitely don't go no further than Outkast.
Right. Definitely.
But Outkast goes further than you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you're able, if they were able to, it's the same amazement that happens when you get somebody to trace your roots. I recently, there's a gal, Natalie Green, that does this thing. You should get in touch with them. They do this thing called Jeans and Gems.
Okay.
And they dealing with entertainers. They want to deal with all of us. I think they did. I can't remember who else they did. I know they did Lord Jamar, but they did me. They found my whole roots, my father's roots, all the way back.
Wow.
You know,
genetically, or did they
genetically? Like from the 18, my great grandfather they found.
Wow.
Came all the way through. I found out great things about my family helped build the Panama Canal. Our name is up there. All I never knew none of that.
Wow.
But knowing that is, you know what I'm saying, there's a certain type of pride. It's the same thing that I think can happen to these young people if they see where they came from. Right. You know what I mean? So, you know, and realize, you, no disrespect, you didn't come from UGK. You didn't come from Outkast. You didn't come from Biggie. You didn't come from Tupac.
Yeah.
You know, and that might be your grandfather, but you got a great grandfather named Melly Mel.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you need to know what he did and how he did it and all of those particular things. So, yeah, I know that's a long answer to a short question, but, yeah, I'm optimistic. It's just an issue of connecting the dots.
Yeah. All right. Well, Daddy-O, man, I appreciate your time, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any final words? Anything?
No, I mean just holler at us, man. I'm looking for people to holler at me, man, about this stop self-destruction, man. I do have my favorites, but I don't have no preferences.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I know I'm looking, Raw Wave, I need you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Roddy Rich, I need you. Corday, I need you. 3D Not T, I need you. Glorilla, I need you. Megan Thee Stallion, I need you. Like, I need y'all. Like, I need to sit down, talk to y'all, and figure this out.
Well, count AllHipHop in, man. We already recruited Jim Jones. We got a couple others.
Thank you, sir.
Might want to recommend.
Yeah. And I got the rap. I already got the beats. Like, I'm sitting on some beats, even though, like I said, I want to work with some of the newer cats, because some of these new cats, like that kid ATL Jacobs, a problem, yo.
Yeah, he's dope. Very dope.
Yo, he's a problem.
Yeah. We had him here at One World.
Yeah. So I do want to work with a lot of those cats, because they doing something new. Like, they not the generation of producers right before them. Yeah. Now they getting into some, they flipping it, like, you know what I'm saying? And I love what they doing. So yeah, no doubt.
All right. Well, I salute you, brother, and we will talk soon.
All right. Thank you, my sir. And we'll talk soon. All right. Peace.